I'm a ventriloquist.
Hypnotist, no.
Then
Hypnotist.
a hypnotist puts people to sleep. Look, just say red lorry, yellow lorry.
Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry.
Very good. Say she sells seashells on the seashore.
She sells seashells on the seashore.
This episode is brought to you in partnership with Manchester Speak, the next day legalization service providers. Please get in touch to discuss your legalization needs at 0161 728 4099. You speak to us, we speak for you.
Hi there, and welcome for Quite Peckish. Today I invite comedian, magician,
Ventriloquist.
I have a trouble with this word. Last time when I saw him, he made me cry
Oh, I hope not.
because I was laughing. Recording, basically. I'm going to put the video here why I was crying.
Okay, let's try. Oh, beautiful, beautiful, fantastic, fantastic.
I feel fantastic.
Yeah. Gentlemen, you ready? Ready. Okay. On the count of three, so 1, 2. Right, wait till I get to 3.
Sorry.
You're right. 1,
2, but wait. I have to get to 3.
I'll go quickly so we can't get in. Okay, here we go. 1, 2, I like to load it. I like to load it. I like to load it. I'm too sexy for my shirt, too sexy for my hat.
Hey.
What was all that? Did I count to 3?
No, you didn't.
I didn't.
No, you didn't.
You didn't know.
You didn't count to 3 and it's not fair because I didn't get to sing. He started without me and I didn't get to sing and now I'm sad.
Oh. Well, it's not my fault.
No, it's not. It's not that stop.
Well, tell him.
It's not that. You naughty boy.
You tell him.
You beast.
You tell him.
You started without me.
Yeah.
I'm gonna smash your face in.
No.
Let me have it.
No. We're going to sit these kind gentlemen back down now.
No, I want to stay here.
But you don't have
I
to.
want to. I want this to last forever.
Yeah.
This is my big moment.
Is it?
Yeah. This is my moment.
What do you want to do?
I want to do a solo.
A solo? He wants to do a solo. Could I watch it? We can both watch. I tell you what, after 3, song.
Not just a song.
Is there more?
Yeah, can I do a dance as well?
But you don't have to do a
I
dance.
want to. I really want to.
Really? Are you joining in the dance?
This episode's delicious food is brought to you by Nero Artisan Pizza and Jar Bar. Come and try our Neapolitan pizza and Balkan-inspired dishes.
And I need to put a video with Charlie because he asked me to put on
Oh,
YouTube.
really? Oh, I see, right.
I need to give my thanks to Nero Pizza because we got today antipasta, very delicious antipasta, and some bruschettis.
Biscotti, yeah, looks very nice.
They look very nice. It's something new from their menu,
Yeah, looks really nice.
and they wanted to show. We are going to have a talk when we are eating, but that's not going to be recorded, or maybe it's going to put in like extra. Okay, we are back after we eat. Now we are back.
Yeah, my side of the table is slightly messier than yours, I think. I tried not to get anything down myself. I don't think I have. I think I've been all right.
If it was my father here, he's going to say something. I can grow some chickens around you. because we've been like a messy on the table and even under.
Yeah. Well, I'm lucky I've not got it down this. I can see my wife saying, "Don't get it down your shirt."
I can remove the stain on the premiere, but I don't know.
Oh, this big stain here, yeah. That would be great if you could remove all that. That'd be fantastic.
What inspired you to become a magician? And sorry for this, because it's a hard word for me to...
A puppet man.
A puppet man, yeah. Ventriloquist. Nearly.
Well, the magician thing, I had a long illness as a child. I had mumps and measles at the same time and was very ill. And when I was recuperating, my mum bought me a magic book called, she's regretted it ever since because she's always wanted me to have a proper job. But she bought me The Puffin Book of Magic by Norman Hunter. And I read this back to front. I used to watch magicians on the TV. And I learned every trick in it, which is unusual because now if I buy a magic book, I never look at it. I'll put it on the shelf and leave it. But as a kid, I just pored over this thing, learned every trick in it, made a few of the tricks up, showed them all to my friends. And then I was kind of hooked. And also I had a magician for my 6th birthday party.
Okay.
And didn't even know that was a possibility that you could do. I didn't know you could get magicians to come to birthday parties. But my mum again, it's her fault. She booked this magician who lived local to us. And little did we know it was a guy who'd written so many magic books. He was a famous children's entertainer, if that's such a thing. But he'd written all these books, textbooks on the subject, and I didn't find that out till years later. And he came and did my party, and from that moment on, I said, "That's what I want to do. I want to do magic at children's birthday parties," and that's really all I ever wanted to do. Children's birthday parties was the thing I wanted to do more than anything. And so I still do kids shows. I do all kinds of shows now, but that's my favourite still.
I'm trying to start with magic.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I have a small kid, but it's very hard. Not only to do the trick part, basically to talk yourself to.
Yeah. It's actually difficult because you're sometimes saying you're doing one thing and you're doing another.
Yeah.
And it's, or you're trying to talk to cover doing something.
Exactly.
And you want to pause so you can concentrate on what you're doing. And it's that kind of thing when it becomes, again, children's magic, that's not so important. To do close-up, I used to do close-up magic. I don't do an awful lot of it now. But it's one of those things. It's sort of, it's saying something that's not happening and something else happening, and you're trying to cover things up, and you're trying to use a bit of psychology on people.
Exactly.
To try and implant suggestions that they're seeing something they're not. Or trying to give them a memory of something that they never saw. I'm not getting too technical now. No, but there are things you can say while you're doing a magic trick that will give people memories of things that they never saw during the thing, but they'll remember what you said and it will sink in, and they'll tell their friends and they'll recreate it in their own mind.
I need to learn this way.
I shouldn't be saying this on a podcast that's not for magicians, but
yeah,
that's the kind of thing. It's fascinating. And then the puppet thing, you just asked me about the puppets as well, didn't you? The puppet thing came along. I'm almost an accidental ventriloquist. I saw this puppet. I went to a magic convention. We have these conventions, like you have conventions for everything, like comic books or whatever. There's magic conventions. They have magic dealers who make and sell magic props. And on one of the stands, there was this giant rabbit puppet, which I absolutely fell in love with. And thought, I'd like to try that. And I'd always kind of fancied myself as a ventriloquist, even though I'd never done it. And I thought, well, I'll put it in a show. We'll see how it goes. And I've got so much bravado, I'll put it in. And I went, and I just felt so silly with this puppet trying to talk and talk to it and have it. Again, it's your mind working on two levels because you're trying to have a conversation with yourself. This is you're asking this a question, it's answering you back, and you're trying to separate your personality from this and trying not to react to what that facially while this one's talking. And it's a real, you feel embarrassed more than anything. So I came home, threw it in the garage and forgot about it. And of course, I was embarrassed about it, never mentioned this to my wife, who then booked me in some shows and said, "Oh, he does ventriloquism now." And then I was forced to do it because when I went to the show,
I think they are great.
It had been promised, and eventually it clicks in. So I always say to anybody who's trying to learn it, give it 100 shows, and then it'll click in. It took about 100 shows, and if I put a new routine in, it still takes 100 shows before it feels right. And when you're just starting out, that can be a long time.
Yeah, it's like me with this podcast.
Yeah.
The pretty amazing thing was with the draw. When you draw the Charlie on the...
Oh yeah, well again, that's a prop that was made by another guy called Steve Axtell. It's I may have it with me somewhere, but you draw a face on a board and it comes to life. And I saw a guy do.
I think everyone was shocked.
I saw a guy do this years ago. A guy called Terry Herbert, who is probably one of the biggest influencers on children's entertainers in the whole world. He made videos, VHS videos of how to do children's shows back in the 80s, which sold all over the world. And so you'll go to foreign countries, you'll go to the States, and people will be just doing this guy's routines, sometimes with his accent and his mannerisms, even though he's a Londoner.
Okay.
And because it's so infectious, his personality. And he did this trick where he drew a face. He wasn't a vent. So he just drew the face and the mouth said a few words, but he didn't have a conversation with it really. But it was just the novelty of the face moving. And I thought, that's amazing. I wish I could get one of those myself. And I thought somebody must have made it. And when I finally got a computer that was connected to the internet, the first search I made was Talking Drawing Board. And I found this company that made them, and it's been in the show ever since. And that was one of the things that I put in and used it the same day I bought it, pretty much. And it's still in the show years later. And I'd never cut it out. I do it on the ships, on the cruise ship for adults. I do it for kids. And it's so thanks Steve Axtell who makes that. He's a
thank you,
talented guy. It's a great routine.
Just imagine the shock. Basically, you twitch the eyes of the character.
Yeah, and that's why it's great working for kids, because you don't really get that with adults.
Yeah,
when you work for kids, to see the eyes moving on the board, you just draw them on, and then the eyes start to move and look around the room. You get screams from the kids. And I've tried all different ways of reacting to it. I mean, you of course, you'll deny that it's happening. But now I always act as if only one child is speaking to me. And I find that's quite funny. The whole audience is screaming, and I'll just single one out and say, "What are you talking about?" And then when I notice it myself, I can turn to that one child and say, "Yes, you were right. You were right." They've all been right. But, I can actually apologize. I say, "I apologize. You were right all along." Because I think
basically that's a connection.
I find a lot making the connection with the kids is important, and I find a lot of it is sometimes singling individual children out rather than just talking at the whole crowd. So I do try and assign little roles to children in the audience, that this one's going to be an antagonist, this one's going to be somebody that I've got a beef with during the show, and it's even funnier if they've been nice to you, and you're gonna have, but I always apologise, and I always make sure and the great thing about kids is they know you're playing.
Yeah.
And to them it instantly becomes fun. It becomes a game. They know you're just playing, and because I've seen other entertainers, because I make DVDs and videos for other entertainers now, and I've seen other entertainers take my bits and use them and just come over as being really rude to the kids. And I thought, well, you've taken my words, but I can't tell you're playing. I can't tell this is a game for you. So, but it's. I mean, a lot do it very well, but I've seen it happen where sometimes what works for one person doesn't work for another.
True. It's exactly like in stand-up. I have a talk with a stand-up comedian, and he said someone stole my jokes. Basically, word with word. Yeah. And it was bad. I mean, basically no one laughed.
Yeah, it's crazy because it's
He said at least if you've been funny to.
and sometimes it's not just even stealing jokes or routines. It's trying to stealing your personality, which is impossible because
true,
they don't know how
exactly.
you're going to react in a certain situation. And so occasionally that happens, and they've every right to do it because I've sold them the DVD or whatever. So they've every right to take the jokes and the material. And again, most will take them off in their own direction. And the ones who do it best will take it off in their own. They'll think, oh, well, I could use that, but I'd do this with it or I'd do that with it. But occasionally you'll get people who just get it. Because I'll very often hear people say, we had this awful entertainer come last week. You were great, but we had this awful one come last time. And they'll repeat back things that are things that I do. And I think, well, I've just done that in the show. And you think, well, what did they do with it that's different? But I think children know when you're being genuinely antagonistic to them, and when you are you're playing. It's funny because my wife's also as you know, because you've booked her. My wife's also an entertainer, and we went to Walt Disney World. It was one of our first dates. We got together, and I happened to be going to a magic convention, and I bought her a ticket for it. We went to Florida, and then we extended it and went to Walt Disney World, and we were sitting in the campground at Fort Wilderness, and we were listening to kids playing outside, and there was an older kid with two younger ones, and this older kid was so bossy, and was coming up with playing a game with them. And as the kids, every time these young kids won a bit of the game or did something that beat this one, they'd invent a new rule as to why that didn't win. And I thought, that's the personality I want on stage. I want to be bossy older brother who's wrong. They know I'm wrong. And I know I'm wrong, but I'm inventing my own rules for this game. That's
good research.
And it was really strange because I thought I came straight from a kid, because a lot of people go for the friendly uncle thing, and I thought, no, I'm going to be like the older brother who is making up their own rules for whatever game they're playing.
I felt that on the show. I felt that.
Yeah, and the kids know I'm wrong. The kids know I'm completely wrong, and they know I'm being a fool over things, and that's the great thing. But that's the great thing about working for kids, that you get that interaction with them. You do get great interaction with adults as well. But kids are honest as well. You won't get polite applause. It's possible to be dreadful at your job doing adult shows and still be in work and never know that you're dreadful at your job, because they will still politely applaud. You'll not get a great response, but you won't. They'll generally, if they won't boo you off unless you're terrible, you'll just get a polite applause and you'll leave. So if I've got I don't really do as much magic now as I used to, but if I was working on a new magic routine, I would always put it in the children's show, because if they could see how it was done, they would tell me. Whereas adults will politely applaud and then go out and say, well, not awful, that's not exactly how he did that. Whereas kids will tell you, and you get that feedback, and then you can make a joke of it and move on and think, right, well, we'll change that. And it's again, it's that instant, honest feedback. And kids want to have fun as well.
Yeah,
and they will have fun. They will try to have fun no matter what's happening. So again, even if you have a bad day, they'll be trying to have fun anyway. So they'll pull you along with them.
I mean, they don't have too much on their head like us.
Yeah.
Because maybe it's something funny, but you're thinking of something else, and you're not there, basically. I mean,
yeah,
like a spectacle.
I did 2 children's shows on the day of my father's funeral.
Okay.
And I did several on the day that he died. When we went, and because he died in December, early December. December's one of the busiest times for a children's entertainer. I can't let people down if I can help it. I think I cancelled 1 show because it actually fell during the funeral, so I had to. And to be honest, people say, "How did you get through it?" And I thought, well, no, that helped me through it an awful lot. It was a horrible time. And to be honest, I was spending all day doing children's shows, and you step out of that. You can walk away from what's troubling you, and
Yeah, you get that
they
energy.
got me through it. Yeah, you get that energy, and you're just straight into that character. So no matter what's going on in your life, you can still do the show because the kids will take you along with you. So people have said, how did you manage to do that? And I said, well, it was probably the best thing I could possibly have done.
Yeah.
And my dad always supported my shows and liked to come and see them and things. So I mean, he wouldn't have wanted me to stop doing them. He would even ask when I go and see him in the hospice. After I'd done the shows, he'd be asking how the shows went and what I'd done. So,
Oh, that's good.
so yeah, so
Does your dad been supportive with to be a magician?
yeah. I think my dad always wanted to be in showbiz. He was.
Okay.
If there was ever an excuse to get up on stage and sing, he would take it. He would be on there singing down the microphone. It was before karaoke was invented, but when I was a kid, he'd be up there. If they were playing it, somebody give us a song, he'd be straight up there and he'd be doing it. It was an incredibly funny man. I used to think he was hilarious as a kid. I used to have me in stitches, and so it was just one of those.
I think that's why you have this job now.
As I was always very shy in school, and I think I surprised everybody in school that I turned out to be a performer because it was the last thing I'd want to do. But it's funny. It's like separating two sides of your personality. It doesn't seem the same.
Did you do any shows when you've been in school?
Yeah, I did the school. I wouldn't say it wasn't a school play. They did a variety show one year.
Yeah, like
and that was
talents.
the first time people were surprised because I went and said, I want to be a magician in the variety show. I signed up magician, and I was the only one who'd put magician. And so they said they had an audition and they did that, and they were quite surprised that I'd got one of the silver floating balls that people used to do. I got that, and I got a few. I did cut and restored rope. I'd cut the rope, restore it, and they did that. But I couldn't speak while I was doing it, so they just set it to music for me. I was trying to talk. You say I had difficulty speaking and doing it at the same time. There'd be these long gaps where I was doing the trick, and then I'd start talking again. And so I think they said, "Well, why don't you do it to music?" So I did a silent act to music.
Yeah, but now you're speaking and you're doing well.
Yeah, because now to me, getting the laughs is more important than the magic. I would rather hear laughs. And I do an adults only show, which is not rude or anything, but I work for Disney Cruise Lines, and they make it because it's Disney and there's a lot of children on board. When you do a theatre show in the big theatre, which seats about 1,000 people, you've got a lot of children there because people bring the families on Disney Cruise Lines. So they make it very clear that they want to have spaces on there that are just for adults, so that when the children go to bed or they go to the kids' clubs in the evening, the adults can come and enjoy something on their own. But they don't want anything rude. Obviously, they don't want adults only content, but it's just designed for the adults. So I can use references to TV shows the kids might not know. And that's how I interpret it. That what Disney want. I can use more references that the kids won't get.
Like daily things, like routines and
I mean,
washing the dishes and
I can do all things like that. The kids aren't interested in. I can do routines about them, and that's particularly during the pandemic when I went back on, and I couldn't do anything where I couldn't even get somebody to choose a card. I couldn't do I put face masks on adults normally, and we do a routine with those. Did I do that? I can't remember. I sometimes don't do that in kids shows, but I do that. Obviously, that was out during the pandemic because no matter how rigorously we clean them or everything, it was like, no, people don't want things on their faces. So we didn't do that.
Even it was hilarious.
And it's become one of the things that I'm if I'm asked on a TV show, that's always what I'm asked to do. And I always sometimes wish they asked me to do something else because it's the same thing again. Honestly, you're going to me to do that. But I've been on about 3 or 4 and they've always asked me to do the same thing. So, during that time, I had to come up with more stand-up comedy bits because I really couldn't do anything. I couldn't have anybody on stage with me. And so, and it stayed in. I don't do the other bits anymore. So for my adults only show on Disney, then it's just me talking for most of it and doing silly little things, like we did the baby. I could demonstrate the baby. I've got a towel somewhere. Where did I put it? Where did I put my little towel? I thought I put it down here somewhere. Oh, I'm sitting on it. I don't know why I need a towel to do this, because you don't actually need a towel, but I do a baby cry routine. It's long. It actually went. What was a 2-minute gag? I'll do the 30-second version. But what was where you make a little baby like this? I do other things with it as well. First, some. Oh, I don't like this bit. And just hold it for me, and then
It's a towel.
It's a towel, yeah. It's great. £1.99 from Morrison's. I get 8 minutes out of it in a huge show.
Okay.
A puppet's like £500. so it's great when you can find something like that. But
When you did that to my event, you've been exactly to the guy who had the baby.
yeah,
And he wanted to take the towel.
it's a funny routine that kind of was born out of just desperation. I couldn't do anything, and it got longer and longer, and we got to talking about where you'd use this baby crying skill. I didn't teach it in the show because it all comes down your nose. The noise, it's not from your mouth. You can cover your mouth up completely. It sounds the same, whether it's from with your mouth.
It's shocking.
When it's tightly closed. So yeah, it's an interesting thing, and that's an aspect of ventriloquism, but it's I don't know if it's really classed as ventriloquism.
How did you come with the idea?
Well, a baby cry. There's a guy called Mark Wade, a ventriloquist, who did a baby cry routine in his show when we went to see him in Tennessee. We went to a magic convention in Tennessee called Kidabra, which was a children's entertainer conference in. I won the world championships. I was children's entertainer world champion. They only held that competition once. Or they only called it that once. They still have a competition every year, but 1 year they called it the World Championships. That was the year I entered. That was the year I won it. So as far as I'm concerned, I'm the reigning world champion, even though it was back in 2008, because they've never held it since.
Well done.
So, so I was invited to go and do a lecture there. So I went to lecture at the convention, and there was a guy called Mark Wade, and he did a baby cry routine, and I thought it was a sound effect when he did it. I thought he was playing a sound effect in, and then I realised he was actually doing it. And so I thought, well, I'll try and learn that. And then again, and I found out through trial and error that it's coming down your nose. It's not coming out of your mouth. I have spoken to Mark about it since, and he does it a different way actually. But his routine was very American, and it was all about building people up and looking after. It was a great routine, not my character at all. But again, I took that. It's a standard bit. The baby cry. It was in a lot of vaudeville shows. It's a standard ventriloquist technique. I'd never thought of learning it, but then it just became a comedy bit in the show. And I show kids how to do it, and say then do it on a long car journey with your parents, and do it if you're on an aeroplane. Go to the toilet on the plane, close the door. Make the noise, wait for a cue to form, and then flush the toilet and walk out with no baby and that kind of thing. So I came up with a lot of gags around it. So I could, otherwise it wouldn't have gone in my show, because I can justify that it was completely different from Mark Wade's version of it, because it's just basically a standard ventriloquist technique.
Yeah,
but that's where it came about. I saw somebody else do it and thought, well, I could do something with that.
And how you come with the idea for any new trick or?
It's funny because usually it's out of necessity. For the same convention I was talking about in Tennessee, I was doing a lecture, and a lot of my props were very big at the time. And I thought, well, I need to do something and again, I probably did this at your gig as well. I'm still doing the same, that one as well. I needed to do something that packed really small. So I came up with a routine with 4 handkerchiefs that tie themselves together and untie themselves and tie themselves together again. And the knot goes from one set to the other, which is it's a classic plot called Sympathetic Silks, but I wanted to put comedy in it. So we added magic wands and kids running about, taking the knots backwards and forwards. But when you think about it, all I'm carrying on the plane is 4 silk handkerchiefs that will fold into a tiny little bundle, no weight to them. So that's why it came about. I needed a trick to do there that wasn't going to be heavy to carry, because I'm terrified of luggage getting lost. So I want it to go in my carry-on bag. So now if I'm flying somewhere to do a show, everything I need for at least a 45-minute show is in my carry-on bag. And then any extra stuff is extra in the other bag, because I have had things get lost, and I can still do a show at least if most of the stuff's in the carry-on bag.
Yeah, it never happened to me to lose the things when I've been flying, but
it's happened to me once going out, but I got it back before the show, as it turned out. But it's happened to me a lot flying home.
Okay.
Strangely enough, which it doesn't really matter that much, but flying home, I've lost bags quite a bit. But I do a lot of flying. So I've back and forth for things. And sometimes it's when the connections are really short.
For me, it's very interesting how you start. You start from a book.
Yeah.
Basically, and now you are doing lectures.
Yeah.
Which is quite amazing.
Well, there is a whole system in place with magicians. You go to these things, and then you sit, you watch lectures yourself, and you think, oh, maybe I could do that. Again, I wasn't asked to lecture really until I won the competition, and then people said the Blackpool Magicians Club said, "Can you come back next year and do a lecture?" And so it was a case of necessity again. I had to write one before the next year. I had to try and work out what it is that I did that had won me the competition. And I was an odd act. I didn't realise what a strange act I was. I developed for 20 years without... I went to a lot of conventions originally, and then started working for a magic company for a guy called Edwin Hooper, who was a fantastic magic dealer, owned the biggest magic firm in the world. Then he died, and I kind of stopped going. But I carried on working, and I developed for like 20 years without any influence from any other entertainers, which I think made me a bit different to the others, because you're not seeing these people and pulling ideas from them.
Yeah.
And things develop, and it probably made me weird as far as chosen entertainers go, because I didn't see anybody else performing, and I wasn't married to my wife at the time, so I didn't even see her shows. I saw nothing, and then it kind of just became this thing where I entered that competition. I sent a video in, didn't get accepted into the competition. Somebody dropped out, and then last minute they rang up and said, "Could you make the numbers up and be in the World Championships?" So I thought I was really lucky. It was the year it was the World Championships, and everybody else on the list were people I'd got DVDs of in my collection, lecture DVDs and teaching DVDs of how to do it. So I thought, I've not got a chance at this, absolutely no chance. And I think I went on and I did a red and white rope trick that I've been doing for years. Again, I would have done that at your gig as well. I did a trick with the red and white rope. I did the Charlie routine.
Yeah.
And I think that's it. I think that's all I did.
You did the Frozen routine.
Frozen routine, what was that?
With the music.
Oh yeah, well that's part of the silk trick I was talking about. Yeah, that's part of that.
Oh, okay.
Sound effects and music didn't come into the show till.
I'm still very intrigued how you did that with the sound effects.
Well, that's the funny thing. I went 25 years in this business without even using a microphone. I just shouted. Then I switched to using a little headset mic, and then again inspired by someone else. One of my best friends now he wasn't at the time. I saw a guy called Gary Dunn. In fact, I recorded his DVD. I do video editing in my spare time.
Okay.
And with a bit of bravado, I offered my services to a magic company, Practical Magic, and I said, if you buy me this camera, I'll edit you this DVD for free. I'd never edited one before in my life. And the guy they asked me to film was Gary Dunn, who is a fantastic comedy magician. And he had all these amazing sound effects going off through the show. And I thought, nobody's doing those. Where are they? How's he doing that?
Exactly. My question was, how you are doing that?
Where are they all coming from? Because he's right on cue every single time. They come in exactly where he wants them. And he'd found online these little remote controls called iNav, which operated which would work with it had a little adapter you plugged into the bottom of your iPod. They were the old-fashioned iPods at the time. So a little adapter you plugged in, and you would put your playlist in of all the tracks you wanted. This is the very basic. They don't do this method anymore. And you would put a silent track in between each track, a track of 1 hour of silence in between each of your tracks. And then you'd have one button that played, one button that paused. We had a play and pause button, and you had an advanced track button. So if you play the track, and then when you went to the next track, it was silent. So the silent track would be playing, and then you wanted the next one, you'd hit the play again, hit the forward again, and it would skip to the next track.
Very smart.
And it's and he worked all that out for himself and started selling these little remote controls, and so you build up a library of sound effects. But now they're a great. I mean, you'll have got apps that help you podcast and things, and this like show. There's one called Show Cues, which I used for years, which is a music app on your iPhone. And there's what I use now is Go Button, which is like the industry standard. It's part of QLab, which most places you go to will be using QLab to operate the lights and sound in theaters.
Oh yeah.
So, but there's a home version you can use, and you can basically set all your cues up in that, whether you want it to fade, whether you want it to move to the next one, and you can have it all on one button press. So whenever when you press that button, it will do the next thing. The only thing is, I sometimes don't run to a set pattern. So I have to have the ability to skip up and down the tracks. So I need to see the screen. I've got a screen in front of me. I know what the next track is, and I'm operating that as I'm doing the thing. So sometimes I'm doing a trick, talking to a puppet, and going through tracks. So there's a lot to think of at the same time.
Multitasking.
It's more difficult than people would imagine. It's not just. It adds another layer to the.
It's exactly what I was saying. I'm not able to do the trick and do the talking, because I have experience with this. I try to do a YouTube channel with gaming, and I'm supposed to play games and talk in the same time. But I was enjoying the game and not talking.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm failing doing this because I'm still not very comfortable to speak in English. But now I'm doing podcast.
Well, yeah, the performance actually helps.
Yeah.
Because some things kick in when it's like, I have difficulty thinking of jokes. I've got friends who don't perform, who would never think of performing, who are far funnier than me in a social situation. They've got a library of jokes for every situation. Exactly. They can come up with jokes off the top of their head, and yet I can't come up with a joke or a quip or a funny line unless I've got an audience there and there's pressure.
Okay.
Suddenly, under pressure, that's when my brain kicks in, and it's a horrible thing. That's why I still get stage fright, terrible stage fright, because you always wonder if it's going to kick in.
Okay.
Is this the time it's not going to work? I feel helpless sometimes before I go on. And then once you get on and things happen and somebody says something, a line will come out. I can't even tell you any of the lines because I've forgotten them by the time the show's finished. But a funny line will come out and you'll do it. I mean, it must be like improvisation. And practicing tricks is like that. My wife, Tamars, or Bella, as you'd know her as, she is a bit like that with practicing. If she goes in front of the audience, she'll do it fine. But practicing at home is I'm the same. We neither of us practice very much when we're at home now, because I'll put it in the show and just see how it goes. If I've got a new thing to do, and I'll work it out in front of the audience. I'll sometimes do it after the show's finished or before with the start. So it's like, oh, this is a new thing I'm doing. And then, oh, that didn't work then. And then onto the show, you know. So
Yeah, testing the waters.
so people know they've not paid for that bit. But, you know, sometimes it's best to get that feedback from the audience. I think when you're so used to it, that feedback, practicing something can be difficult. You'll practice the moves and things, but you don't know quite what you're going to say, where or when.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same. I think basically if you do the moves properly and you're not thinking how to do it, you can talk freely after.
Yeah, there's certain things. I mean, probably the most complicated thing I do in my actual show is, well, there's a couple of things. I do a red and white handkerchief changing colour and then turning into one that's half and half. And I do the red and white rope trick where the knot comes off the rope and we throw the knot back on again. They're such second nature now, but I have tried to show people how to tie the knot. Something as simple as just tying the knot in the rope. And I can't do it unless I'm doing the routine. It's like it's become so second nature. Unless I'm actually in the throw of the routine, I can't tie the knot. And yet, if I don't think about it and I'm talking to the audience, my hands just do it. When somebody said, "Oh, teach me that knot," and they've come up afterwards, and some other magician, I've said, "Yeah, I'll show you how to do it. It's easy, yeah." And then suddenly my hands don't know what to do. And I've actually had to step back and say, "Right, I'll just show you the trick." "Oh yeah, that's how you do it." And it's funny that it's become such second nature that's how it is. And I think that people must do in every job must be like that though. Your brain kind of clicks in, and it's like dancers must be exactly the same way. I think, how do you remember all those steps? And it's like, put the right music on, and because I've no dance, I've worked with dancers and singers can remember songs the whole. I mean, Tamar's a singer as well, and she can remember every song she's ever sung over all these years, all the words and all the lyrics. She'll just pull them up in there, and I say, "Aren't you going to practice?" "No, I know them." It's like, because she still goes out and does the singing gigs occasionally, and it's like, how do you remember all that? And I think once it's in, you never forget. It's like riding a bike.
I want to ask you, what was the biggest challenge in your career?
I'm going to say the first gig for Disney, because I can't explain really. I mean, I'm a Disney fan. I've been going to the Disney parks every year, sometimes more than once a year for decades. I paid to go on a Disney cruise line vacation and sort of saw acts on the stage there and thought, well, I was doing nothing but kids' parties at the time. And then it kind of, nearly everything I've done has fallen in my lap. I'm not very good at looking for work. I'm a terrible businessman. I don't have my name on my table. I don't tell the kids who I am. I walk in, do the show, walk out. Nobody knows who I am. And so how do they find me? It's like, I'm like the A-team. You can't find me. And so I fell into this job, basically. I was invited by Mark Wade, the man I told about the baby, also doing the baby cry, runs a ventriloquist convention. I've always wanted to go. And so he asked me to be in the international show on that. And I said, yeah, I'll do that. It's 10 minutes. Wasn't nervous about that because it was a very friendly audience. They're all ventriloquists of all varying levels of ability. So I didn't feel under any pressure to be a brilliant ventriloquist or anything. I know they're going to be supportive. They're all going to have a laugh. So I did that. It went really well. Got a little bit of a standing ovation, which I don't normally get, but Americans are very appreciative usually when you do it. And then when I walked out, this really lovely lady was there who said, would you like to work for Disney Cruise Lines? Which it was like saying to me, do you want everything you've ever dreamed of? Would you like that? And I'm saying, yeah, I would. I didn't take it seriously. She said, well, call me, gave me a card. And so I took that, thought, yeah, right. Went home and didn't call her. Then she emailed me.
Okay.
And said, I've got you a job. Do you want it? Do you want? Yeah, I do want it. And she got me these 2 trial bookings. So these were my first jobs on a cruise ship in years. I'd done some work on cruise ships before, but I was younger and fearless back then. I developed a lot more stage fright in the years that followed. And so I went on, and I was suddenly on this ship. I'd been given everything I ever wanted to do. I'm going to be in the Walt Disney Theatre, and I'm going to be doing the job that I've dreamed of doing 10 years ago. And I was petrified. They didn't put me on till the second night after I boarded. So I spent the first night in my room. I never left the room. I didn't enjoy the beautiful ship or the facilities or talk to anybody. I spent all day in my room panicking. They worried me even more by putting me on to do an adults-only show first. And in my head, that wasn't the way it was going to work. I was going to go in the theatre, do my normal family show, and that would be good enough to win some people over. So when I was in the adults area the night after, they would have seen that and thought, and they'd give me a bit of leeway. But no, I had to do the adults show first, which was definitely the B material. That wasn't the good material. That was going to be saved for the theatre. So I was doing what I thought was the bad show first. And so I think that was probably the most challenging thing, just to get myself on the stage, because I've never experienced stage fright like it. And I can't think of any time in my life when I've been that scared of doing a job. I've had jobs where I've not wanted to go on, but there were jobs I didn't care about. So at the same time, I didn't care if I never got booked there again. This is one I wanted to do. I cared about keeping the job and getting the job. And look, I've been on 10 years now. Next year will be my 10th year on working for Disney Cruise Line. So it must have gone all right. She said, because when the agent said to me, if they let you do the second date, then the first one will have gone all right. They would cancel in between if they didn't like it. And I must say, I imagine Disney would be a difficult company to work for as far as rules and regulations about what you could do and what you couldn't do. Nothing further from the truth. They kind of trust the entertainers completely. They'll tell you when they think you've done something wrong, but they kind of let you do your own thing until. I mean, I've never had a note apart from a couple of things about language, and not bad language, but because I don't understand that certain words in America mean something different in American than in England.
Like.
The drawing board. You may have noticed now I only ever call this an eraser, but in England we call it a rubber. This is a board rubber, and it used to be I've got a board rubber and I've got a rubber. I'm rubbing him out, and a rubber only means condom in America.
Yes,
and I'm doing a kids show. And the kids wouldn't know what I'm talking about. The parents kind of... And the one thing about Americans and English people that are different, as far as this kind of thing's concerned, is Americans tend... they'll know this... They might think he must know there's something wrong, but they'll assume I've made a mistake rather than it's just a breakdown in communication. There was another one, you see, a skinhead. I used to rub Charlie's hair out and he'd say, well, I'm a skinhead. Now, a skinhead is a haircut, as far as I'm concerned. Yeah. And the cruise director came up afterwards and said, I knew it was a language barrier problem because all the Brits laughed and all the Americans went, because a skinhead just means neo-Nazi
true.
In America.
Yeah, but
literally no other meaning. It's not a haircut. I mean, and I know it can mean that in the UK, but in the UK, if you've got it's a skinhead haircut, that's what it is. So I've taken these references out at home as well. I always say eraser now because Brits get what an eraser is. so I might as well call it a board eraser. And so I just don't use those words anymore because I don't want to.
It's very strange.
So that's literally the only thing I've had.
Because even me, I wasn't thinking about that. Even I know the meaning, but I'm not aware they're using like that.
Again, it's context clues, but and most of the others will pick up on context clues. They'll think, that's obviously some language difference, but it creates a kind of weird thing, and I'd rather know. And so now I've got friends in America that I will ring up if I'm doing because I thought Americans would know the children's game Buckaroo because I got gags about that at one point. So I was thankful for a friend in Boston that I could ring and say, and no, we don't have that in America. That's not an American thing at all. We've never heard of that. So I had to cut that out. So just little things like that, little cultural references. They don't get. You might as well try and make it appeal to everybody.
What is the funniest memory you had on the stage?
Did you know, the funny thing is, I tend to remember things that have gone wrong more than things that have gone right. I've had lots of happy memories of shows that have gone really well, but the ones you really remember and the stories people want to hear is when things have gone horribly. And the worst happened for another cruise line. This wasn't Disney. It was when I was working. I won't name the cruise line because it's embarrassing for them, but it begins with a P and ends in an O. And I was on this cruise line doing this thing, and you get a sheet of paper come to your room every night. I think it's all digital now, but you get a booklet, and it would have on the front page, there'd be a colour photograph of the entertainer, and it would say appearing in the theatre tonight, and it'd be delivered I still used to get excited every time they said, right, there's my picture in the thing, and it's my picture on the front page of the thing. And for years I saved all these. I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I saved them and kept them for years. I threw them all away recently because it's like ridiculous. And this thing arrived, so I thought, I'm in the thing, and I looked, and it said, John Kimmons, the music of Take That. And the entire description was for in tonight's show, he'll be taken from the early days of Take That with a musical journey through their career to the current hits and blah, 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 blah. And so they billed me as a Take That tribute act. And there was a picture of me there. And they'd put 3 show times on. And I only do 2 normally. 3 is ridiculous. 3 shows, one after the other, 45 minutes. So I ran down to the office and said, "You've billed me incorrectly. This is not right." "Oh, we used the wrong one. That's the Take That tribute. I'm sorry about that." I said, "Well, we need to do something about this because there's going to be a very angry audience when they come in and expecting Take That, and I'm there." And they said, "Oh, we'll sort it out." And I said, "What about the 3 shows?" "Oh, you still have to do 3 shows. See, the Take That people are very popular, so we have to put 3 shows on, and they only do 25 minutes." I said, "Oh, right, so I'm doing 3 25. No, you've got to do 3 1-hour shows." Like, okay. So the next night, it was the same night. That night, he said, "We'll tell them in the theatre tonight." So I went down to see the guys showing the theatre that night, waiting to see what they said. And the cruise director comes out, or the assistant cruise director came out, and she announced it like this. She said, "I've got some very bad news for you. Tomorrow night, it will not be Take That in the theatre. It's going." And then there was the way she said it was like I'd kidnapped them and was insisting they put me on. "It's going to be John Kimmons with his ventriloquist act." And the whole audience with me sitting in it, booed me. Sorry, I'm getting excited. I'm getting agitated. They booed me 24 hours before I went on stage. And for the rest of that cruise, that entire audience hated me. Like it was my fault that I got incorrect billing. Nobody turned up to the first show. I had about 25 people at the second show, and then very few after that. And I have never worked for that cruise line again. And that's over a billing mistake. And I'd always gone well. It was a weird thing. But it was just dealt with really badly. I've never had such issues on a ship since, but it was really weird.
How did you react when They've been booing you.
I joined in because, it's peer pressure. I found myself booing myself.
Have a go.
I booed myself. I was boo. I was sat there. The next to me didn't even know who I was. He didn't know I was booing me. I was sat next to him. And it's just one of those things. But, you have funny things happen in the show. Kids come up with funny things all the time. And that's another great thing about kids shows. They'll come up. And it's particularly funny when you get a kid that decides to, has no filter and no idea of where they are. And you might be on a big stage. You might just be in a church hall. You'll ask them a question into a microphone, and they will start going on and on and on and on. And you're standing there thinking, and they're telling you about the pets and the cats and the dogs that they've got at home. I hear some horror stories about cats and dogs. And whenever they tell you about a cat and dog, I think, they're going to tell me how it died horribly. And it always happens. And then it got run over by a car. It's always what they want to tell me. Things like that.
Yeah, I had a cat who ran away.
I think you're doing it to me as well. It happens to me all the time. Yeah, it's a funny thing, but kids are the best for that kind of thing. And I've no real horror stories about kids.
No,
I must have been. I mean, I'm pushing 45, probably more than 45 years doing it. I was 15 when so 47 years doing this, and I was 15 when I started. I've hardly got any horror stories that would involve a kid misbehaving. Hardly any. Maybe one or two. But nearly every horror story I've got is about a prop problem or a horrible village hall or parents who won't be quiet while you're trying to do a show. I've had parents walk up and put down their drink on my table that I'm working from and stand shouting to someone at the back of the room like they don't realise a show's going on. And I'm there with a microphone. They're in between me.
You didn't try to join them in
well, you do. You have to really. I've had people I've had people go into my box behind me, get puppets out, and be pulling out the puppets while the show. Always adults, never kids.
Wow.
It's so.
I didn't expect this.
Horror stories about adults, but not children.
I expect that from the children.
The children generally just want to be entertained. They'll have fun. And, I've worked with children long enough to be able to identify children that may have certain issues and children that I shouldn't be aggressive with and shouldn't be too loud around. If you get in and you see children covering their ears, I'll bring the volume of the show down a little bit because, some children have got so sensitive to noise. I'll bring the show volume down. And that's when it's frustrating when sometimes the noise level in the room with the parents talking is so loud. Particularly, sometimes they ask me to be quiet. They'll come and say, the children have got very sensitive ears and they're sensitive to noise. Can you please be quiet? And then they'll be so loud the kids can't hear me. And I'm thinking, oh. So all my issues tend to be with rooms, and it's very, very often it's usually not the person who's booked me. It's usually other people who are there who haven't got any stake in the show who happen to be around. I once did a show at which was a strange experience. They booked a children's birthday party and a funeral into the same pub, and there was virtually only a line of chairs separating the two parties. So we've got a funeral party here and me doing a children's birthday party on this side.
That's very strange.
All upbeat and wacky, and the funeral here. So I had to go and talk to them. But the people at the funeral breakfast, at the wake, whatever it's called, were very nice about it and said, "This is perfect. We just do your show. We'll watch it." And it was great. It was great when I involved them in the show. So sometimes it's I've turned up at halls when it's been locked and we can't get in the hall. Nobody, the key holder hasn't come to the hall, and they can't get in touch with them on the phone. I've done a show in a car park once. When that happened, they've said, "I'll get kids sitting on that grass bank. We'll do the show here." No, luckily I did 25 years without a microphone. I don't need to plug everything in all the time. So I've done a show for them and then said, "I will get you a deposit back if I were you before we do this."
Do you have kids?
I have 2 grown-up children now.
How they grow up?
Well, neither of them want to be magicians, funnily enough, or entertainers in any way.
But did you test any new material with them?
Yes, I did. I did their parties when they were young, and I always did a different show. I never did my show that they'd seen a million times. I always did a different show. I had a child who was, my oldest son, Chris, was very into Thomas the Tank Engine. And so because I haven't got any rights to perform Thomas, this is another example of me falling into something that happens. I had no rights to the character, but it was only my son's birthday party. I made, excuse me, there's a food coming back. I made versions of my props that were themed to Thomas the Tank Engine, and I made up different routines as well. I spent ages doing them out, drawing these up, and then did a whole Thomas the Tank Engine show, a one-off, never to be repeated, put all the props away in the garage, and then I got a call from Britt Allcroft, who had the rights to the toys. We are doing a Thomas the Tank Engine party. Are you available to be a magician at it? I said, well, not only am I available to be a magician, I can do a customized show for you. I can put one together. So I charged them a fortune for customizing all these props that I'd done anyway for my son's birthday party. I had lots of extra money on. And while I was there, they were really happy with it. I said, oh, it's a shame the show's got to finish here. And they said, well, we'll grant you can do the show any way you like. So for a while, I did a Thomas the Tank Engine show, and I didn't pay a single penny. Wow. In fact, I got paid by Britt Allcroft, who had the rights to the image. I got paid by them to put the show together, which I'd already put together. And then I did it. I don't know where the props are now. I never liked that show, to be honest. It wasn't my show. It was a one-off just for my son. But I stopped doing it after a while because I dressed in a boiler suit and a little cap. I've never been one for dressing up in costumes for doing shows, but
I just imagine the suit.
Yeah.
I want to ask you about your future plans.
Well, that's the thing. I've always gone where the wind blew me, really. It's one of those things. Say, I'm on Disney, not through any design. It was everything I ever wanted to do as a job, but I never looked into how you would do it, how you get it. Just a series of coincidences led me to do it. Same as the series of coincidences led me to be a kids entertainer. And then into everything I've done is just what I tend to do, and I've said this to a lot of people, is I say yes to a lot of things. If somebody asks me to do something, I say yes. I've had it difficult to say no
to this.
Like to this. If somebody asks me to do something, I'll do it, because at least once, and see how it goes. Because the first ever job on a cruise ship was for Royal Caribbean, and I got that because somebody asked me to do a charity magic show, which a lot of people had turned down, because it meant driving to Birmingham to do it. And I've got a free night. I thought, well, I'll go and do it. Didn't even know the guy that well. And I went to do that, did the show, and he was having his show filmed. This might have been the whole reason for the night, rather than the charity. He was having his show filmed in a theatre as a show reel for cruise ships. And the guy who was filming it happened to know me, because he was part of Blackpool Magicians Club, who had just won the World Championships at. Again, all coincidence. So he came and said, well, I'm filming him. Do you want me to film you as well? And he filmed me as well. And then he made me a show reel. He sent it to the same agent as this guy, and I got a gig on a cruise ship with it. So that's how I started working on cruise ships. And if I hadn't done that, I probably wouldn't have even taken the Disney gig, because I would have thought I wouldn't know how to do it. But it's one of those things. It just so as far as the future goes, I want to keep working.
Yeah, good.
I decided I'd go back and do holiday parks again this year, because for me, I don't know if it's my age or whatever, and for all the fact that I'm away a lot with cruise ships, the children's birthday market for me has slowed right down. My wife's very busy with it, but for me, it's not as busy as it used to be. And so I've gone back to doing holiday parks this year, which is something I've not done for a while. I've been really enjoying that. It's a lot of driving. It's all over the country. I'm in Skegness on Thursday, and then in a couple of weeks' time, I'll be going down to Great Yarmouth and doing 4 shows, one each night in holiday parks, and it's been good for me because it's kept me going, and I find I wasn't working enough before. You lose it a little bit if you don't get enough.
Did you
shows.
think to post on your Facebook where you're going to do the shows?
Yeah, occasionally. I say I'm a very bad businessman. I do a convention. I make loads of little videos, comedy things for this magic convention that earns me no money. It's nothing. It's just pure vanity, not vanity project. I just do it for fun. But it earns me no money. And I work so hard on that. If only I worked as hard on my own career as I do on putting that one convention together for one day a year for other people, then I'd be busy probably. But it's just not how I am. I think perhaps if I was getting no work, I would worry about it. But I don't really want to be famous or anything. I don't really want the hassle that comes with that.
Yeah, understandable.
I've never done anything for money. I've done it. You sometimes get paid for things that you like to do, but I've never done a job and said, "Oh, I don't care. I'll just do it for the money." Never done it for that. I'll do something that's interesting to me.
Exactly.
If somebody offered me a lot of money to do something I thought I was going to hate, I'd probably still turn it down. But I'll say yes if somebody asked me to do something that sounds interesting. I ended up working at the Magic Castle in Hollywood because I said yes to doing and I flew out at my own expense to do a show in Tennessee, and then from that I got to work at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, which is like a huge thing, and I never thought I'd even get to go there, let alone work there. So I always think it's nice to just do that. I'm not advising any children growing up to treat your life like that. Have a plan. But I've never have.
Yeah, but it's one of the reasons why I ask you this. It's just because a lot of people are not doing what they like to do.
I think maybe my problem is I tend to do just what I like to do. I enjoy every job that I do generally. I even like driving long distances, so I don't mind driving 6 hours to do 45 minutes at a holiday park. I'll moan about it because I know you're supposed to. I'll say, 6 hours drive, do 45 minutes drive all the way back home again. I don't mind doing that at all. I listen to podcasts. I have 6 hours of alone time in the car listening to listen to all my podcasts.
I had some project in London and I never drove more than 2 hours. And that was from here to there, 4 hours even. Yeah. I stay in the queue, let's say 5, 6, basically because it was heavy traffic. And that was my worst experience with London.
Yeah.
But yeah, when you're going, you can see a lot of stuff around. That's what I like.
I always say that the gig pays me for setting up and packing away because they're the only two bits I don't like out of the whole thing. The rest of it, just putting the stuff back in the box, carrying it to the car and back. That's the only bit I don't like. I don't like the admin. I don't like doing lots of admin. But the actual show itself.
Yeah, exactly.
If somebody could run my life and just say you've got a show. If I had a manager that said do a show there, and I just went and did the show and then came home, and then somebody came and packed my stuff up, that'd be the best. That's my plan. That's okay. What's my plan? That's my plan.
To have
I'll have a manager who takes care of all the admin.
Oh, that would be great. Great. I need something like that for my podcast as well.
Yeah.
Even to put my gears in place, just to put my ass here and talk with to do what I want to do.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's a good one.
Yeah, sorry.
I asked you before if you have kids, and you told me they don't want to be a magician, but how they took the magic. I mean, basically, you've been showing them tricks. Did they like?
I've got friends whose kids got right into magic and then have become performers, and they're constantly buying them new props and things. Mine were never like that. They like the shows, and they still come and see the show because I can take them on the ships with me. They still both come with me on the cruise ship, and they'll come and watch all the shows I do on there. But they don't see it that often. Again, my oldest is very honest with me. My favourite line from him was when we took him on the Disney ship. He said it was talking to somebody else actually, and they said, "What's it like when your dad's on the ship?" He went, "Well, of course we lose two shows because he's on." I missed out on 2 Disney shows because he was on stage. I could have had a decent act. And he keeps saying, I didn't mean that. But that's what he said. We lost 2 shows because he's on. They both enjoyed it growing up. But it's just second nature. That's just what I do. It's like, it's not unusual. I mean, there must be children who grow up with parents being film stars and things like that, and even that's even second nature to them. It's just what life's like. They don't know anything else. Dad's always playing with a puppet or something in there. But I think all dads do that.
I was trying to play with the puppet with my daughter when she was younger. She's 5 now, but I didn't have talent. But she was still get like the character. Basically, was a horse.
Yeah, well, kids do it. Kids play like that all the time. Anyway, it's pretty much an extension of what kids do all the time with the dolls and everything. They'll give them little personalities and characters and come up with storylines with them.
Oh, now she have some toys from Gabby Dollhouse, and I have a camera which I'm not using it. I give it to her. She was trying to record how she's playing with the toys like she saw on YouTube. Even she's saying lines.
My little niece, she's not little anymore. She's grown up. She's about 15 now. But when she was little, she used to mum used to film her, and then she'd immediately switch into like influencer mode. Because she'd watch so many of these videos, and she'd be doing unboxing videos. She'd be unboxing her toys. This is this and this. And look, see, they open this, and then inside there you get this. And it's funny. They're just growing up like that. And that's their reference. I mean, this is something you kind of need to pick up on as well as an entertainer. You kind of have to sort of realise what the kids are into at the moment.
Yeah, exactly.
And they're into. Because it's impenetrable for me, some of the things my kids have watched on YouTube. But you have to sort of try and understand what it is that they like. And you think, oh, yeah, I can see why they like that. Like reaction videos. I used to think that was really weird that there were videos of people watching something else and reacting to it. And I thought, actually, I would have watched a couple, and then I thought, I watched some, and I thought, actually, this is quite good. Because it's like when you show a video to a friend and you just want to watch their reaction to it.
Yeah, it's the same thing.
And I thought, you're getting that same thing. I thought, yeah, well, I can see why they like that now. I could see, because I've even started subscribing to some reaction channels myself and watching them. So it's funny how... so I do try and understand where kids are coming from on this, rather than just say, oh, kids, they don't know what they're talking about nowadays. And you get a lot of that. You get a lot of... There's a guy called Silly Billy. It's not his real name. David Kay from New York, and he's a famous entertainer and a good friend of mine. And he wrote one of the standard textbooks for children's entertainers called Seriously Silly. And in the first, I wish I brought it with me actually, because it's a great prep. In the first paragraph, he's got this whole thing about children of today have got no attention span. They can't concentrate on this. It's this huge thing. And then when you go further down, he says that passage was written in 1925 or something. It's written in the 20s, and he's saying, and people are saying exactly the same thing about kids now as they did then. Nothing's ever changed. Children haven't changed. Adults become these adults who then say this about children years later.
About it. Oh.
And I thought that was a great way to start a book. It was like saying, It's a real downbeat thing, and he says, I just took that from an article that was written in the I forget what year it was, but it was like 1920s or something, when there wasn't even TV to watch, and it was talking, lamented how children have got no attention span and they're too distracted by these newfangled books. There's always something, and
yeah, true.
I think if you don't respect kids and understand their world and what they're interested in and what value it has, then you can't do this job, or you shouldn't be doing this job. You can't be an old curmudgeon saying kids today don't understand anything. And
I think, in my opinion, they understand too much now.
Well, yeah, maybe, but I think kids have always been underestimated.
Yeah.
People have always talked down to them, and I try not to do that. I hope in my show it comes across that I don't talk down to the kids. I'll try and be, and I don't try and bring myself down to a child's level. I'll try and sort of, I just talk on the same level as I always do to anybody. And
but what voice you are using for Charlie?
Yeah,
because sometimes
I've got him with me if you want to see him.
Yeah.
Oh, this.
Because sometimes he's a bit rude.
This is I don't know how we come in. Where
it's
where
perfect.
Can we see him if I put him there? Can we see which one?
Where's the camera?
The camera's over there.
No camera there.
Hello. You don't have to hello. You don't have to shout down the thing.
Yeah.
Hello. Yeah. They're talking there. You're talking there. Yeah.
You all right?
Yeah.
Hello, Charlie.
His arms are a bit strange today.
Yeah, can see now. Yeah, can see.
Do you want to eat something?
Yeah, no, thank you. I'm on a diet.
He's on a diet.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's some
I made a
vegetables.
sponge. He's made a sponge. You can't eat.
Yeah. Hi.
Yeah. So this is Charlie. He's 5 years old.
Yeah.
He's been 5 years old for 30 years.
30 years.
30 years.
Yeah.
Oh,
This is actually, I've had a lot of Charlies.
What?
Yeah. You're not the first.
No.
No, you're not.
No. You all right?
Yeah.
yes. You?
What you eating?
He's not eating, it's his beard.
Yeah. I thought you were eating a dodger.
He's not, no.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
You're supposed to be on a diet.
I'm supposed to be on a diet.
I know.
Yeah.
Look at this. He's doing a mukbang.
I'm not doing a mukbang.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just had a bit of Italian food.
Yeah.
So this is Charlie. Do some ventriloquism.
Huh?
I'm a ventriloquist.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Do some ventriloquism.
You're a ventriloquist?
Yeah.
Hypnotist.
Not hypnotist. I'm a ventriloquist.
Hypnotist, no.
Then
Hypnotist.
a hypnotist puts people to sleep. Look, just say red lorry, yellow lorry.
Red lorry, yellow lorry, red lorry, yellow lorry.
Very good. Say she sells seashells on the seashore.
She sells seashells on the seashore.
How you are doing that? Because I need to learn.
Well, can you say Peter Piper picked a peck of pickled peppers?
No.
No, he can't say that one.
All
But
right.
one thing bothers me. If Peter Piper picked a peck of tickled peppers, where's the peck of tickled peppers that Peter Piper picked?
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good.
That's
Better
enough
than
from
me.
you. But yeah, it's weird doing it at close range like that. It's funny. It's a really weird thing to do, and it's weird when I'm not doing my routine because you're trying to have two personalities and you're trying to react to what something else is saying when you've just said it.
Yeah. I mean, even me, I don't know how to react because if you look at him,
Yeah,
it's just basically ignore you.
yeah. It's a funny thing.
And I hear you talking when you're doing your part, and
I do try and teach it occasionally. I've written a book on ventriloquism, and it's quite technical at parts about how to do the talk without moving your lips. But again, that's only part of it really, because most of it is distraction. Most of it's like a magic trick. Most of it is distraction because you're sometimes better off moving them.
yeah,
Than being completely indecipherable. You might as well move them and make sure they're looking at the puppet while you're doing it. So there's certain parts of the routine you can just move your lips if you want, because you know they're going to be looking at the puppet.
yeah. I noticed that because usually I'm looking
Yeah.
Do you move your mouth?
Yeah, there's sometimes. I mean, it's easier to do it without the puppet on, because I'll relax a bit when the puppet's on.
Yeah, because you need to.
So if you want to do
Tita taita ticta teca tickle teta tita taita ticta teca tickle teta goisa teca tickle teta tita taita tict.
and so you're trying to make it sound like a P. Obviously, I'm not doing a P. I'm not doing a P sound. And what I was shocked about was when I bought books on ventriloquism, they were all terrible. The older ones that I bought, because they would say just replace a letter B with a letter G, and you're away. So you'd be got gear, and replace a P with a letter T, and you'd be tita tita ticta teca tickle teta, and that doesn't. And it's kind of right, but not close enough.
Yeah.
It's just
Tita taita ticta teca tickle teta tita taita ticta teca tickle teta.
But still, it's a technique.
It's a technique, but what you're doing is I find you're it's so easy to kid yourself in magic and in ventriloquism. In magic in particular, you'll find people who practice in front of a mirror. You can tell when people practice in front of a mirror, watching their hands move, because every time they're doing the secret move, they close their eyes because they don't want to see it. And if they're so used to it that it's ingrained in them that they'll be talking to you, and then suddenly they'll go like that. You think, oh, he's doing the move now, because he doesn't want to see it in the mirror when he's doing it. And you'll fool yourself that the move's invisible because you can't see it because you've shut your eyes while you're doing it. And ventriloquists do it by they hear differently when they're watching themselves in the mirror, and they're doing that, and they'll hear it all sound all right. So when I was trying to learn it seriously, I mean, when I started out, I was doing it really badly probably. When I tried to seriously learn it, I just started forgetting about the puppet and just putting it was a recorder at the time. I'd use my phone memo now, but I'd put record it and then just do the audio. And if it sounds right on audio, if I get home and that sounded terrible, that just did, then I'll be doing it again. But it's like B's and P's and things like that. You do need to be able to do them. But
yeah, I think it's a bit harder for someone who don't know.
Yeah, it's basically just a different way of saying it. And it's mainly with your tongue and your teeth,
the muscle,
and
I think it was one of the things what I learned about speaking on other language. Basically, the muscle of the mouth, they learn how to speak in one language,
yes,
and it's going to be hard to speak in another language. And basically, to be a puppet master,
yeah,
it's more hard to not move those muscles, basically.
Yeah, and I think you get used to doing. I can't even imagine what it was like now when I started out, but I see other people struggling with it when I'm trying to teach them. Because we go to ventriloquist convention and you're showing beginners how to do it, and you see them forgetting to switch to one way of pronouncing a letter, and it's like when I'm doing that voice, I'll do it automatically that way, and that's why when you get a new puppet, it's still difficult. If you're putting a new voice on it, it's difficult, and it's switching between one way of pronouncing it and another. Because obviously, when you're talking, you're doing it the normal way.
Yeah.
And so I have you try and put bits in when you start getting clever with it, where you're interacting very fast with each other. So it's you're switching from one voice to another and one thing very quickly, because that's.
I used to watch Jeff Dunham.
Oh yeah, he's still going.
And he was breaking the middle of the show with the puppet what he had in the hand,
yeah,
with the one who had in the suitcase.
Yeah, Oh, you mean so he'll come in?
Yeah.
He'll do the sort of...
But from the suitcase, like he was there sleeping, and after they wake up, it's not what she said or something like that.
Yeah. So doing that, the distant voice.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, the distant voice is. I do a little workshop on the Disney ships where we talk about how to do all these sort of ventriloquial tricks, and the distant voice is almost impossible to do with a falsetto like Charlie's. So it tends to be like old man puppets you do it with. I'd be willing to bet he does it with his Walter voice.
Oh yeah.
Rather than his Peanut voice.
It was with Walter. Yeah.
Yeah, because it's. I mean, it's you imagine you're picking up a giant rock like, and that automatically sounds like it's ventriloquism is not throwing your voice. There's no such thing as throwing your voice. You can't do it. That's a misnomer. You can't make your voice sound like it's coming from somewhere else. But your ears are terrible at working out where sound comes from, which is why they spend a fortune on sirens for police cars and ambulances that you can hear from different directions. They've spent so much money researching that. Your eyes do all the work for you, and your eyes kind of work out how quiet something sounds, and then it will say, "Oh, it must be that far away because it's that." I can see that because when you're watching on TV, all the sounds coming out of a little thing, so nobody's throwing the voices on TV. It was all coming out the same speaker, and so it's you do like that. So, hello. So you'll have it so if it's coming from over there. Hello. Oh, hello. Yeah, I'm all right. Yeah.
Sounds very real.
And what sells it is the acting. Say hello. What? Somebody say something, and it's the fact that and it's so hello. What? What are you doing? We're doing a podcast. So it's that kind of thing. You'll do it as a. I do it in the show we put.
Basically, you can do with the phone.
Yeah. So you can pick the phone. Hello. Yeah. How are you? Hello. You. Yeah. I'm fine. So you just do it like that. And again, it's one of those self-conscious things. Once you've done it a couple of times on stage and it's gone all right, and you're all right with it, and it's. But I'd consider that like a trick, a bit like the baby cry. It's but it gets easier as you get older because you make that noise getting out of a chair when you get older. But it's like. That's all it is, and I do that. I teach that on the ships because it's one you can actually. It's an advanced technique classed as a really advanced technique, but actually, it's not that hard, and I can teach kids to do it on the ship, and I can get kids doing it by the end of the show. So we get them to have a little cup and say, I've got a little man in the cup. Hello. And that's something they can go home and do. Because he only needs a paper cup and say, I've got a man in here. Say hello. Hello. Yeah, hello. And so I get them doing that.
Now I will do something for you, a bit of marketing. Where people can find you for booking any event?
Well, if you go to kimmomagic.com, it's all one word, kimmomagic.com, then that's where you find it. You can fill in a form and
I will put in description and on my website if that will help.
That would be fantastic. And I'll talk about this podcast on mine because I'm very good at promoting other people.
All right, thank myself. You. Basically, I want to do the same thing to promote other people.
Get a few magicians to tune in.
I had on another podcast in Romania, and I had a magician.
Oh, right.
He's just starting. It's called Magic Maris, and I think he got a friend, Siler. He just launched a book now. Oh,
right. Yeah, I think because I know a lot of people because I work at magic conventions. I meet a lot of people, so I've probably met them at some point.
Yeah, I think Marius know about you.
All right.
I mean.
Well, I've been around for a very long time now.
He just
it's stuck in this rut, never getting any famouser than. But that's fine for me.
Thank you for coming.
No, welcome. It's been a pleasure. Thanks for the food.
Oh yeah, we need to give again the thanks for Nero Pizza because they serve us usually antipasta. And this bruschettis, which was a new thing for me.
Very nice.
which are very nice.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So visit Nero
Yeah. Nero
Pizza.
Pizza.
Nero Pizza. Visit Nero
Yeah.
Pizza.
Yeah.
I can recommend it.
You can find them in at the moment in Barnsley Market and in Doncaster, some food hall. I will
Just
put,
look for a food hall in
Yeah.
Doncaster.
I will put in
they
the
might be there.
description better.
I will find it.
Yeah. I think we need to do something in the future. I mean, at least I want to call you again for an event.
Well, I'm terrible with it. I'll buy a new microphone.
Uh,
I keep hitting your microwave.
They're quite good.
Microwave, I'm calling it. Microphone, yeah.
yeah, they are quite good.
Yeah, I keep punching it. So yeah. Well, definitely, I'm up for that. What was the event we did last time? It was we did a little.
It was for the end of summer, something like that.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I remember.
Yeah.
I remember enjoying
Yeah.
it. I have very few memories about it, which means it went all right.
Yeah, it was.
I only remember.
Everyone was laughing.
I only remember the ones where they
I mean,
throw things at me.
The parents, the kids. I had tears in my eyes laughing because you bring those two parents and put a mask on. So.
Oh well, I'm surprised I did that because I don't always do that in kid shows. But it must have been the if the parents are watching, I do that. If the parents are into it,
Yeah.
then I may do that. If they're not, and I don't think they're going to be wanted to come out, I don't do that. I'm saying that to any parents who want to book and don't want to come out and put a mask on. But if they look like they're into it, I try. I mean, particularly with kids, even with kids, I don't even pick a birthday child out if they look like they don't want to. I always say at the beginning of the show, if you don't put your hand up, you won't get chosen. Don't worry about it. But if you put your hand up, I might pick you out.
Yeah.
And so,
Thank you, and I can't wait to see you again.
thank you very much, and thanks for the wonderful antipasta.
You can still get some.
I will do.
And thank you for watching.
Thank you.